bold or more broad-ranging things, or go back, whatever you want to do. And then we'll finish up. I think we still have a little bit of food and wine left. We finish up with some networking time. And 9:30 is when we have to start to ooze our way out of here so they can get this place set up for all the people that pay to work here tomorrow. So, all right, without further ado, Jason.
Actually, I'm going to switch the slides real quick.
Is the web broadcast depending on the microphone in order for them to hear us?
It's a good question.
A little usability question.
How? Usually, yes.
Well, if it's not, and everybody can hear me, I'd rather stay away from the podium because I have a tendency to latch on to it. So, good evening.
Good evening.
Hi. My name is Jason Rosoff. I'm the lead designer for Khan Academy. And I'm here to talk to you tonight a little bit about kind of how Khan Academy got started, what we're doing now, and the impact that we're having already. And the title of my talk is Student First Design, and it's more of an underlying theme than a title. And the reason why I include it is because we have run into the situation where something that we thought was a simple idea, which is if you want to improve education, one great way to do that would be to give students power, agency, control over what's happening in education, in their own education. And but we've met with a lot of people who think that's like a radical idea, that's something totally new. And so that's sort of the theme that will kind of carry us through the talk. And hopefully I can keep it somewhat short. So for anybody who hasn't seen it, this is the site as it exists today. The site got started in 2005. Sal was tutoring his cousins in mathematics, and he was doing this synchronously. He was getting on video chat. They were in New Orleans, he was in Boston, and basically they started having a hard time scheduling things. So this is one of those stories of like a very humble beginning for an interesting idea. And so he said, I'll just record the talks ahead of time, and I'll send them to you guys. And two things happened. One, his cousins really appreciated the fact that they didn't have to do the tutoring sessions on his schedule, and they also really loved the fact that they could pause and rewind what he was saying and kind of go over a concept again without asking him to repeat it. Which again, if you know, one thing that's really difficult, especially in tutor situations, is like you don't want to ask. It's hard to say you don't understand something, right? That's a difficult thing to get over. And so he started recording these videos, and the second thing that happened was on YouTube. He posted them to YouTube, and on YouTube people were leaving comments like, wow, I didn't get this when my teacher told me. So he's like, this is a cool idea, I'm going to start recording some videos. So I'm just going to give us a quick sample.
Show you a little bit of a montage.
That's Sal.
So the hypotenuse is now going to be 5. This animal's fossils are only found in this area of South America, a nice clean band here, and this part of Africa. We could integrate over the surface, and the notation usually is a capital sigma. National Assembly, they create the Committee of Public Safety, which sounds like a very nice committee. Notice, this is an aldehyde, and it's an alcohol. Start differentiating into effector and memory cells. A galaxy, hey, there's another galaxy. Oh look, there's another galaxy. And for dollars is their 30 million plus the $20 million from the American manufacturer. If this does not blow your mind, then you have no emotion.
Hey, look, it laughs at both the So what's interesting is that this very simple thing, right? Math lessons for my cousins has grown to a library of 2,600 videos and over 200 exercises that cover everything from basic mathematics to physics, chemistry, finance, economics, art history is our newest edition. And all of it, the purpose of it, is to deliver an individualized, world-class education to anyone, anywhere, for free. And so that is a big mission, right? And getting there is going to take a lot of little steps, and I'm going to kind of walk you through some of the steps that we've taken so far. But first, it's kind of helpful to think about what we are working against to some extent, which is this. When a lot of people, when we think of classrooms, and unfortunately, in reality, a lot of people experience classrooms in this way. And so the question is, what does the design of a classroom tell you, right? And the design of a classroom tells you that, well, all of the people in those rows, they're the same, and their focus is on that person in the front of the room, right? And as a product of that design, there is a natural tendency to make the communication in this classroom broadcast, right? So a teacher gets up, delivers a one-size-fits-all to everyone in the classroom at the same pace, at the same time. And subsequently, there's a snapshot assessment at the end of the unit in which everybody is asked a series of questions which determine their proficiency in a particular topic. And whether or not they understand it, whether you get a C or you get an A or an F or an A, everybody moves on, right? Time up. And you're on to the next topic. And so we see two core problems with this. One, we believe that that students deserve and are, and we've seen evidence that when you give them some control over what's going on in their own education, it changes the way they interact with their peers. It changes the way they interact with educational material. And so we're trying to put students in control, right? That's sort of principle number one. And the second principle is mastery is constant, not time. So in the current model, time is the constant, right? Everything happens on a particular schedule, and it doesn't matter where you are. In our model, everybody reaches the same level of proficiency, and they can take as much time as they need in order to accomplish that. And so to do this, we have had to build a bunch of tools. And so one thing that's worth clarifying is that when Sal actually envisioned the Khan Academy, right from the very beginning, Sal has a software development background. He envisioned this thing, which was a combination of the videos and the software. What he realized sometime in the time between 2009 and 10 when he quit his job was that he was pretty good at the video stuff, not so good at the software stuff, and so that's actually how I wound up getting involved. We started an open source project that the lead developer and I started volunteering for while we were working full time. And so we started to help him build a series of tools. And so this is one example. So in a traditional classroom you might get a syllabus. This is our version of the syllabus, and basically we call it the knowledge map. And the knowledge map does two things. So notice there are no dates on the knowledge map. And more importantly, what it shows you is not the sequence of things, but the connection between things, right? So you're starting from someplace, and you're going someplace, and you can actually see a path between one point and the next point. And the other thing that it does is it puts the student in control. This is what the student uses to navigate the site, right? They could choose to go all the way down to the bottom of the knowledge map and try something in calculus. They won't be able to do it, but they can choose to try that, right? It's like in an MMO, right, where you wander off the path into some high-level area, and you kind of get killed, and you're like, oh, I shouldn't have been there, right? But you're like, how do I get? The advantage here is we're saying, well, how do you get from where you are now to there? And we say there's actually a path. It's possible. If you want to learn that, there's a way to get there. And so each of those nodes on the knowledge map is actually an interactive exercise module. So unlike a worksheet or a homework assignment, we're giving a student, first of all, as many problems as they need in order to master something. We will continue to generate problems for every student, unique problems for every student until they've mastered something. And we give them a bunch of resources that they can pull at any time in order to help them. So if you've never seen this before, maybe you'll watch Sal's video about it. Or maybe you want to get a clue about what's going on, and so you can take some hints, and the hints are actually interactive and step-by-step explain what the problem is, how it works, and why it works that way. So again, putting power into the hands of the student to pull information when they need it most. And then finally, instead of snapshot assessments, we are collecting information about your performance over time. And the reason why we take that approach is that progress, however small it may be, is being made constantly in education, and it's completely lost, right, by a snapshot assessment. You don't know that you have improved or done something good from one snapshot to assessment to another if you've gotten a B on both. But maybe you actually improved skills in a particular area, and that's not obvious. And so this particular graph that I'm showing is part of a student profile. And this is the focus graph. So this basically shows the student how they split up their time in the last 7 days, what they've actually been working on the site in the last 7 days. And so if this student wanted to earn proficiency in significant figures, was that tiny little purple sliver up there? Well, they probably didn't spend enough time working on significant figures. And that type of information, that metacognitive understanding of if I want to accomplish something, I actually have to spend time doing it, we found that students respond incredibly well to that. Adults respond incredibly well to it also, right? But it's like somehow we've lost we've lost that in the translation of the rhythm of normal school. And so if you're collecting all this information about students, and you're getting students excited about using the site, and they're actually engaged in doing stuff and learning stuff through the site, we then can take all of this information and bubble it up for a teacher or a coach. Right? And so this is a coach dashboard. This is a single report called the progress report. And basically what this is showing is students down the left-hand side, concepts along the top. Cool colors means everything's kind of okay. You don't have to worry about what's going on there. Warm colors means something has gone wrong. And so it's pretty easy to see that red spot over there on the graph. And what that means is that that student is struggling in that particular concept. And so if you think about this in contrast to a stack of test papers, right? How long would it take a teacher to figure out that a student was actually struggling in something? How long was the gap between when that happened and when the teacher actually discovered that it was going on? This is updated live. When you refresh the page, you know what's going on in your class. And so there are a couple of interesting things that can happen here. The teacher could decide, I want to do a one-on-one intervention with that student. I'm going to go over there and see exactly what's going on. Or they could say, hey, there's 2 people in the class who are, or 3 or 4 people in the class who are proficient in this topic already. Why don't I get one of them to peer tutor the student who's struggling? And in addition to that, we provide a bunch more context. So this is like very binary state, right? It's either things are good or things are bad. So if you actually click on that, any of those nodes on that graph, you get this representation, which is the problems that were done in that particular module. So a red bar means the problem was answered incorrectly, a blue bar means the problem was answered correctly. The question mark means that the student took a hint, and there's a little video icon if the student decides to watch a video. And there's a couple interesting things you can see right away. One of them is that there was a lot of sort of wrong answers in the beginning, and then there's a bunch of right answers strung together. The bar also, I don't know if I mentioned this, the bar tells you how long the student took on that particular question. And so what you generally see is, like, over time, the student seems to be getting faster, and the faster they're answering, the more likely they are to be correct. And so, but they're still struggling. They still haven't quite gotten this. And so a teacher could say, okay, I actually want to understand if there's a pattern of mistakes that they're making. So a teacher can click on any one of those questions and get the ability to play back what the student did. So this is, the bar across the top is time. So the student started the problem, spent a bunch of time working on it, entered the incorrect answer. They took 3 hints, and then entered the correct answer. And so you can actually click on any one of those elements and see the problem as the student saw it at that point in time. So the big question here is, so this is all pretty cool, and there's some exciting, teachers doing some exciting stuff with it, but there's a question about, what kind of impact is this having? And so I have a few statistics to share. So every month we see 3.5 million students on the site. They're doing 1.8 million questions, exercise questions every single day to learn 80,000 new concepts. 80,000 proficiencies are awarded on the site every day. And while we're super excited, like, this is awesome, right? We're pumped about this. And also, I mean, it's almost 300% growth, year-over-year growth. We realized that, it's hard to feel this. Like, if you're working on this project, like, this is great because it means that the project is getting traction in this sort of vague or large sense. But what does it actually mean to students? And so, right before this, I kind of went and grabbed a bunch of stuff off of Twitter. So finally feel like less of an idiot sitting in my math class thanks to Khan Academy and 10 hours of